Did you know that 20% of small businesses fail within their first year? Grant writers are not exempt from this phenomena. Erin joined the collective 9 months ago with the express goal of how to land clients. She had the master's degree. She even had her grant writing certificate from a local college. And she'd been binging all of our YouTube content. But she knew she needed the accountability and the community to build a business of her dreams. Fast forward 1 year, and she has replaced her full-time income while working 10 hours less per week and zero commute time. Let's meet Erin. Erin, I am so excited to be learning more about your journey today and sharing this with our community.
I'm so happy to be here.
What drew you to even think about grant writing in the first place?
When I was a teenager, I wanted to go in the Peace Corps. That never quite happened. I was always really interested in nonprofits and organizations that especially did things like Clean Water Project, malaria, HIV. There was kind of a while where I was trying to figure out how to work in those interests into a career. I never wanted to have my own nonprofit. And then I kind of got to this point of I can strengthen other nonprofits. And that's kind of what led me to grant writing. But what's also great about that is it also meant that I could be part of multiple nonprofits if I wanted to.
Before you were a grant writer, you were like in a lab, right? You were doing like science.
Yeah.
Talk to us about what your background is and then how that lended to the career switch in grant writing.
So I did a Bachelor of Science in anthropology, and then I did a Master of Science in tropical disease biology. And I did that in England because it's a very kind of niche type of program. We did a lot of work with mosquitoes and other types of vectors that spread diseases, talked a lot about global public health. I didn't have a lot of say in where I moved when I came back to the United States because I moved with my husband, who is doing his residency right now. Kind of put me far away from the places to where I could have actually worked with mosquitoes. And so I kind of took any lab job I could find at that time because it was something that was employable for the skills I had. It was interesting, but I had no passion in it. I still kind of wanted to go back to my interests. Like, what would make 15-year-old Erin so proud of 30-year-old Erin, for example? I started connecting with some nonprofits and doing some volunteer work, was really stalking the Learn Grant Writing YouTube channel for a long time. And so that's kind of what got me into grant writing. And I tried to kind of do it by myself for a while. And then eventually I joined the collective, and thank goodness. Wish I did earlier.
What were kind of the main frustrations of doing it by yourself? Like, what was the main sticking point for you?
I did a grant writing certification course through a local university, and that was nice. The course was probably more structured for someone who already works for a nonprofit who was recently given the role of grant writing, and that was not my case. So I finished that course and said, okay, what now? I have no clients. I have no one to write grants for. Again, I was stalking the Learn Grant Writing YouTube, and I was trying to kind of take as much as I could from the YouTube channel and make that work for myself. And it kind of got me somewhere, but it definitely didn't get me all the way to where I needed to be. I kind of got to a point where I said, I need support. I think I can do this, but we need some help.
Talk to us about where you're at now in terms of client load, the projects you're working on, revenue.
When I first joined the collective, I think I was working with mostly 2 paid clients and then 1 volunteer client. And that was definitely something that couldn't financially support me. I'm very lucky to have a husband who's been so supportive of me doing this. When I joined the collective, it gave me so much more structure from the freelancer's understanding. I've never really worked much as a freelancer. I didn't realize how many emails I needed to be sending out for informational interviews. I would send out 10 and I'd be like, where are my clients? That really put in a good perspective, and just to kind of see other people's journeys of it does take a long time. It does take a lot of effort. Since joining the collective, I've added 3 more clients. One is a retainer, one that we're kind of just getting started with. And then another one is just an organization who they have a grant writer on staff, but they wanted someone else to do their federal grants. And so I'm doing their federal grants.
I love that you are even working with someone who has an in-house staff grant writer, because often we think we can't even approach those organizations for a freelance gig. How close do you feel like you have a sustainable income now?
I feel like I do have a sustainable income, and it's especially having retainer clients, and things are getting so much faster now because I've already written several grants. I am on track currently though to make pretty close to what I was making at my last job, where I was working probably like 45 hours a week, commuting 10 hours a week. And now I work usually less than 40 hours a week and I have no commute. And I have so much more time in my life to simply take care of myself. I've added on some new hobbies to my life even, and it's just so fun.
Okay, you got to tell us what one of those hobbies are.
I bought a sewing machine and I'm learning to sew, and I love thrifting, but I'll find something that almost fits and I think I could make this fit. It's worth the $6 pants.
A former unicorn, Julia Grace, just launched a fabulous podcast all about thrifting and sustainability. I'll send it to you and then I'll also link it below because I think there's a bunch of us who like thrift. In the collective, you've replaced your income and you've gained time, like really quite incredible, in about a year.
Yeah.
Huge kudos to you. This is so exciting. Take us back to somewhere where you were like, oh my gosh, I can't believe that this is happening.
About a year ago, when I was getting my first clients and I was sending out emails to total strangers saying like, hey, I'm really interested in your organization. Let's talk. I remember one morning, I just woke up feeling like, man, I've already been sending all these emails and nothing's happening and I haven't made money for a while. And I get an email back from a director saying, yeah, I would be interested in talking, but what's your experience like? What kind of grants have you won? And I lost it. I cried in my kitchen and I told my husband, I was like, how am I going to prove to anyone that I can do this? I almost didn't email that man back, and then I did, and now he's a client.
Okay, so you have to talk us through this. What happened?
Well, we had the informational interview. I feel like we connected really well, and he's just like someone who I really genuinely have so much respect for and interest in his life and all the things that he does. I told him about a funding strategy. It was kind of very specific parameters, so I think at the end we only had like 4 grants and we ended up going after 3 and we won one of them that ended up building a big borehole for a community in Kenya. So it now provides a permanent water source for a rural community. I kind of told the guy, this is what I'm wanting to do with my life. These are my interests. This is my background. I did charge for that funding strategy. Not much, but I still did charge. He, for some reason, took a chance on me, and a person who I really enjoy having in my life in this kind of client worker relationship.
In that email back to him, what did you say?
I think I try to keep it like really brief to say, I don't have experience yet. I am certified and I'm constantly learning more. Let's have a chat if that's okay with you. And he said yes.
You approached it with genuine curiosity. You can tell even now when you speak about this client that you're genuinely concerned about him, his organization, and the relationship in this way that is just beautiful to watch, right? Like you're genuinely curious about what's happening. And I think that that energy takes us super far. I also love it because you didn't let that like obstacle of him asking you deter you. You just came in an authentic way and said, I still want to talk. I could still help you. Like it's just beautiful. It takes a lot of confidence.
I was about ready to give up. I sent that email back, huffing and puffing, with tears down my face, trying to put my professional hat on when I'm crying over my cup of tea.
How did you get yourself to actually respond?
This has happened to me a couple other times in life where I've been so frustrated, where I'm just this close to giving up. And then for some reason, something just happens and it breaks. And so I've kind of told myself like, this is a big transformative area if you can go past these. And that doesn't necessarily mean like when I'm about to have a breakdown that something great's going to happen, but sometimes it does. And you won't know unless you keep pushing forward.
It's so true. How many cold outreach do you think you've done?
I think my list, I've reached out to somewhere between like 85 and 105 people. And I haven't reached out to people for quite a while. And I actually was thinking just last night, I was like, I should start doing informational interviews again. I kind of like them.
It's the number one way we can scale. And so if you can continue those info interviews, continue getting your clients that you want, and then we can outsource to do some of those other pieces, like that's really where we get you to the next financial goals you have.
As much as I do like working alone, I also really do love being part of a team. And so sometimes it gets a teeny bit lonely.
What are you most proud of in your grant writing journey so far?
I might say I'm most proud of my most recent win. I posted it in Circle, but it was my biggest win of $173,000. And it was a grant that I wasn't totally sure about. I didn't pick it out for this client. They kind of approached me and said, will you write this? And usually I find I have better luck when I pick out the grant because I get to just pre-vet everything. I kind of thought we were maybe asking for too much money, but it worked out. And I've only really won some kind of smaller grants between like $10,000 and $25,000. So this just kind of skyrocketed skyrocketed and made me feel like, oh, let's go try some other big ones. This is fun.
It's so much fun. And now you get to write federal grants. So you're going to be racking in the money.
Exactly.
What do your clients do? You can pick one of them or a couple of them and just tell us about the work that you're doing.
So I have a handful of clients. Some are in kind of the small to medium international development projects. And so sometimes that looks like clean water projects, HIV, AIDS, malaria type projects, microfinance. And then I have some clients in Southern Oregon where I'm from. So one of them is a theater. One of them is kind of a larger organization that does employment training and placement for adults with disabilities. And then I also work with someone who does social justice in Los Angeles. So there's kind of all sorts of different things. I would say my niche is probably international and Southern Oregon specifically.
My therapist recently said, like, we have a house of rooms and each of those rooms is a different part of our identity, right? And we get to open and close those doors. I loved the imagery. Our ideal client avatar is actually two, right? Like, because Southern Oregon could be doing nothing related to infectious diseases or clean water or any of that, but you get to open that door of that identity.
Both, Southern Oregon and international projects are such a huge part of who I am and what my passions are. It's really cool that I get to be part of two very different things at the same time. It all kind of is brought together with grants.
Public health is a universal crisis. So I'm sure that there will be some Southern Oregon nonprofits who can come into your life that won't be so tangentially different.
There's a Venn diagram. It all overlaps.
I do want to circle to your art behind you because you said that that was a client project and I would love to know more about that.
One of my clients where they do employment services for adults with disabilities, they also have an art program. They have a wood mill. This is made of wood, but they also made the frame. And so one of the participants painted that and then they sell it at local businesses. And so I was at my favorite cafe in Klamath Falls and I saw that they had some of these paintings on the wall. And this was years ago. So I purchased this and had it hanging in my house. And then when I met with the client, they told me about their art program. And I said, wait, I have one of your paintings. So that was kind of a fun circle. I've been walking past this painting every day for years and then they become my client.
That is wild.
Now that they're a client, I put it behind my desk just because it's kind of like a little source of pride and I want to represent my clients and show off the wonderful work that they do.
One of the reasons that I love business is that we can do it differently. We can be a change in a system that hasn't always prioritized or has never prioritized people who have been historically oppressed and marginalized. So when we get to purchase things like the art behind you and then bring it into conversation, it can change the way that we can make an impact even in those tiny ways.
I feel like I've learned so much about community kind of through grant writing. It's bringing me into my own communities, into other communities around the world. And it's just been a really special thing.
We're going to end with some rapid fire questions. What is one word to describe your dream lifestyle?
Adaptable.
Next vacation spot?
Florence, Italy.
Favorite podcast?
National Park After Dark.
What are you reading right now?
I am reading, it's called Dead Aid by Dembisa Moyo, and she is a Zambian economist, and one of the organizations I work with is in Zambia. It's really important to me if I'm working on African problems that I have African perspectives rather than bringing an American perspective to everything, because I don't think that's respectful or going to be the best way of solving problems.
Speaking right to my heart. Last TV show you binged?
Bom Dia Veronica, which means Good Morning Veronica in Portuguese, and it's a Netflix Brazil show. It was very creepy, but very good.
And then what is your superpower?
I think my superpower is that I've always been kind of a jack of all trades type of person. And it just really makes sense for my personality. I want to get into a lot of different things. I love writing, but I also love the research and I love the community involvement aspect. I'm good at wearing a lot of different hats.
One of the reasons why Meredith and I loved grant writing is you could walk in and you know so much about different aspects that it's a fascinating way to live.
It's really perfect considering I had to move here for my spouse's career. We're moving again for his fellowship. Then we'll be moving at least one more time after that. I've been able to create it myself and I can take it anywhere I go.
Oh, this is so beautiful, Erin. Thank you so much for sharing parts of your story. This has been an incredible roller coaster of the last year, and we are so grateful to support you. And I cannot wait to see what this next up level of financial gain is, as well as you building a team. Like, let's do another one in a year. Awesome. Yay. Well, thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you, Alex.